Okay, everybody, here we go with the other video for this, and hopefully it won't be quite as long as that last one. I'm just going to walk us through the most recent grant that I submitted for and was funded, and talk to you a little bit. As you can see, this is the RFA that came out for this particular grant, the CRSM 2018. And you can see the deadlines, and it's funny because they put these deadlines out and then a lot of times things change, so the deadlines will move a little bit. But they've got notice of intent letter, so you have to let them know you're going to do it. This particular agency, the THECB, the Higher Ed Coordinating Board in Texas, they usually put out an inquiry deadline. That is your opportunity to give them any questions. So do you have a question about what is written in the RFA? You have to get it in within this time period, which is not a lot. It's 14 days, 2 weeks after this first one. So get all your inquiries in here, and then we will answer them. And what they do is they make an FAQ page so that they're not giving you special information. They're just giving out all of the frequently asked questions to everybody who has applied, basically. And then here's the application deadline, which again is not that long, right? You had to have your notice of intent in May 11th, and here's the application June 8th. So, and probably this, I don't know when this came out, but it probably came out about 2 weeks before this. So all in all, you have about a month and a half window in there to get everything put together, to get your principal people together and everything like that. There's a huge table of contents. I'm just going to work us through it a little bit. Program title, the synopsis of the program. Again, I've loaded this into your D2L shell, so you're welcome to go through and look at it if you want to. I don't think it really will give you a lot as far as, like, you don't need to know the content of the grant. I just want you to see how things are put out and how they look as you go through. There's a lot of legal stuff in it. So, for instance, here, the synopsis of the program, they let you know what they're looking for. Applicants with experience delivering co-requisite models. That's what this particular one is about, is the co-requisite model for developmental education. Should include outcomes data that they've had so far. So these are things we want to see. The program authority, this is who has the ability to offer this funding, basically. So legal things, points of contact. These are the people you can talk to. And before you're awarded, you can only send emails to this generic email. So if you happen to know somebody who works at the THECB, you're not allowed to talk to them about this grant because that would be unfair. So just little things like that they're trying to keep on the up and up. They've got definition section, the amount of money they're going to give, and the number of awards they're going to give. So that's almost in everything. The grant period, this was a 2-year period. The timelines for different things, okay. Grant period begins, stuff like that. Okay. Who's eligible to apply? Cost sharing. Okay, so a lot of grants that you will see will have something called cost sharing. Or matching funds, and basically what that means is that the funding agency doesn't want to be the only one putting money into this endeavor. They want to make sure that your institution supports it. So sometimes it's about a 10% cost share or something like that. You have to show we have funds that are up, in this case it's 10%. You have to have funds that are available to be used for this project, okay? Students who are eligible to be served, this is the population that they want you to be impacting. Notice of intent guidelines, so they have it spelled out. This is what you need to have in your letter where you give us a notice to apply, an intent to apply letter. Okay. This is how many submissions you can have per institution. So what that does is what makes me coordinate on my campus. If there's somebody over in English who's also applying for this grant, then they don't want 2 applications from the same school. Okay, so if you're somebody in English or somebody in math, you guys work together, and you can only come up with 1 application amongst the 2 of you and submit 1 application. Okay, this is where you submit, when you submit, how you submit, and they're very clear that if you miss the deadlines, you are out, so they're not going to look at you. If you have questions, that's what the inquiry is about. Here's the background in case you don't know what a co-requisite is. They're going to let you know. Here's how you know that you're eligible to be funded. Here starts coming some important information. So you have to have project directors. Somebody has to step up and say, I'm going to take responsibility for this money. I'm going to take responsibility for this program. So these are requirements. So if you don't meet their requirements, if you're not willing to offer co-requisite models, for instance, and tell them how you're doing it, then you're not going to get funded for this particular grant, which of course was 2 years ago, but still, that grant is still going on now. It tells you how long your grant's going to go, how you must spend your money. Here's the funding restrictions. Here are all of your allowable costs. So there will be different things in here that you'll see. For instance, there are direct costs, which is things that you put in a line, basically. I'm going to pay this faculty this much money. I'm going to pay this student worker that much money. I'm going to buy these materials. I'm going to buy this laptop. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So you have things that you are allowed to use, costs that you're allowed to spend. Everybody who is working on your grant is probably eligible for some kind of salary and fringe benefit, so you can get that taken care of. All of those things are in there. There's also indirect costs. This particular grant does not allow for indirect costs. A lot of schools, a lot of institutions of higher education want indirect costs because it's basically like a little percentage that they can tack onto any grant and say, oh, out of this amount of funding that you're getting, this percentage of it is going to indirect costs. And what that means is they can take that money and set it in a side account and say, oh, we're going to pay for the staff who help with grant writing, we're going to help pay for this, we're going to help pay for that, and that's an indirect cost. It's not directly something that you would, if you didn't have this grant, you wouldn't have it, because those people are still getting paid no matter what, but it is something that kind of supports the grant, so the university or college might try to put that on there. These are things that this particular grant had under prohibited costs. So they're not going to allow you, for instance, here to pay for things that were incurred before the grant started. If you already did this, we're not paying for it. You can't calculate stipends at a higher pay rate than that which is an individual normally receives. So if you only make $5,000 a month and the grant's going to pay you for 1 month worth of pay, you cannot say, I'm going to make $10,000 that month. It doesn't work that way. You can buy out 2 months of your time, that kind of thing, but you cannot, and do 5,000, but you cannot say, I'm going to pay myself more than what I would normally get in the summertime if I was working, basically. Okay. So indirect costs is in there listed. Foreign travel, you can't have that. You can't give scholarships. So it just says these are the things we're unwilling to pay for, so don't even put it in your grant, because if we see it, we're going to either veto your entire grant, so all that work is for nothing, or we'll veto that cost, and then you're going to lose that money out of your budget anyway. So no sense in putting that in there. Here's how we're going to score you. Here's how you'll know these are the things we expect for a strong application. Here's the rubric, which will be attached in an appendix on the back. Here's how we want you to turn in your stuff. So they're very specific. Your application cannot be more than 4 megabytes. Okay, that's not very big. So that means you can't put a bunch of pictures and stuff like that in there. It needs to be one single PDF. You need to have this title. You need to have this kind of double spacing, and they are serious. If they say they want double spacing and you single space, that is grounds for disqualifying your submission. So you need to really read what they want. Whenever I do one of these grant proposals, I will have writing and highlighting and everything all over stuff. This is a clean copy, clearly, but on the one that I did for this, you can bet that it was written all over. So if because I want to remember, oh, that I did, double spacing or whatever. Anything specific that they say they want. They want a cover page, and they have a specific formatting for that cover page. I'll show you in a minute. You have to have a project narrative, and not only that, but your narrative has to hit these things that they want you to talk about. How are you going to monitor your stuff, your counseling? How are you going to collect your data? How are you going to do your reporting? So if you don't have a plan for all those, then you're not going to get funded, okay? How are you going to sustain this program once this funding goes away? So they want to make sure that this isn't just something that you're going to do for a year or two, and then, the students aren't going to get this benefit anymore. They want to make sure this is sustainable. How are you going to disseminate? Now, this is an interesting thing that most grants actually have in there. They want you to share information. So they don't want you to just sit at home and do this and not tell anybody. So disseminating that information means you're going to go to a conference or something like that and share the information. And are you going to have professional development for your people? So different things that they're willing to talk about. Timeline, budget. I've loaded a form into the bottom of your D2L into the document section, and you can see in there that I have how to get started on a grant, which we won't worry about that until next week, but I've got that in there. And the number one thing, what I start with, is the budget. Okay, so here are all the things in the budget that you need to have as a line item, and it's telling me travel expenses, other direct costs, so on and so forth. Performance measures. How are we going to know that what we're doing is paying off? How are we going to evaluate ourselves? So things like that those are important, and I want to know if you've got a plan for it, because if you don't have a plan for it, then that tells me you're not really prepared to do this. So yeah, make sure you're doing it as you should. Here's where the legalese comes in. So conflicts of interest, there's all kinds of disclosures you have to make. For instance, if I was planning to use a certain software with all of my students, and I'm the owner, or I have major stocks in that particular software, I have to disclose to everybody, the university, the funding source, everybody, that I have this interest in this software that is other than just academic interest, but I will make money off of this. So there's a lot of paperwork for those kinds of things you have to watch out for. Who are you going to contract with? There's stuff that is required if you're a Texas public university. There are things that are required. Payment terms, how am I going to get my money from you guys? If I need to extend the grant, like I haven't spent all my money, or if they decide that they're going to add to the grant, then they can extend it, things like that. Let's see what else. Yeah, so more legal rules, you have to abide by FERPA, which I think everybody probably knows. That's the Federal Education Right to Privacy Act, which means that if I give them data, it's not individual student data. Like I can't say Susie Q made an F in such and such course. Instead, I can say in such and such course we had 500 A's, 300 B's, whatever. So I can say that because that's just aggregated. It can't be tied to one particular student, okay? But if I call out Susie Q and give her information, that's a violation of federal law. Everybody should know that. So yeah, I have to be careful of those kinds of things. Yeah, and I want to make sure that you know it. So, yep, after you apply, there's a Public Information Act, so anything that you apply to the Texas state becomes public record eventually, so people can see what you wrote. Yeah, all of this is just legal stuff. If they have to amend the contract, this is a contract basically between you and them. If they have to terminate the contract, if something's wrong, yeah, methods of notice, this is how you're going to know those things. Liability, you have to have insurance to be able to do some of these things, and most higher ed institutions already carry that kind of liability insurance, so it's not a problem. But you can see there's a lot of legal talk in here. You have to have workman's comp available for the staff that are on your thing in case something crazy happens, like coronavirus, I don't know, but I actually do have some student workers who were working on my grant as tutors and now are unemployed. And that they could have been working online, but some of them just chose they didn't want to tutor online, so they went unemployed. So they are probably actually using that insurance right now for the coronavirus. So there you go. Insurance. This section does not apply to state agencies, so that's a little different something. How are you going to keep up with the money? Reporting requirements, state laws, key personnel. So just a lot goes into writing. If it's more than, say, $1,000 grant, you're going to have a lot involved with it. So just so you know that. Time and effort recording, that's an important timepiece or a piece, because if you're a faculty member or if you have staff who are working on this grant, you have to, by federal law, report how much time was spent doing their normal duties and how much time was spent on this extra duty, because working on a grant is above and beyond your normal workload, so we have to report that. So, of course, we're giving them stipends, so you're getting paid for that extra work, but it has to be done, and it has to be done carefully. So, just so you know, careful. Alright, so a lot of legal stuff going on with that. This particular grant had a calendar of events, so here's when you're going to have to do your intent letter, your inquiries, your application. Here's when they will let you know that they've received it. Here's when they will announce who got it. Here's when your grant period begins. Here's when you have to have your revised budget plan done. Here's all the reporting forms that they want from you at different times and different semesters. And if you look way down here at the bottom, final project report. So lots of paperwork involved in a grant for sure. If there are things that you don't know what they mean, such as an interesting one is, there's FERPA. An interesting one is just-in-time support. So that's the idea that as a student needs a topic, then I give them the developmental information that goes with it. So if you don't know some of these words, they probably have them hiding in a particular definition section somewhere maybe. Here's why we get the ability to, why we have the authority to pay, basically. Okay, and then most grant applications at some point, either on their website or in their RFA, will have this kind of thing right here, which is the templates that you're going to use. So this is the cover page they want you to use, and if you do other stuff, you're not going to get funded. So use what they want you to use. And you can see in here, here's your applicant, here's your information, contact, here's where you have to sign, here's where other people have to sign. That's probably like the president of the university, or maybe a vice president of business or something like that. So here's your budget form. These will normally expand, so I can type in there and tell them exactly how I'm going to spend what I'm going to travel to, what conferences, and how much money for each conference and stuff like that. So again, if you're writing a grant, when you're writing your grant for your project, I suggest that you guys start with the budget, because you need to know what you're spending, and that will give you an idea of what you can spend on, different line items, direct costs that you can use, and it will give you an idea of how to write your narrative sections. Okay, we're going to spend $5,000 on travel, here are the things, and in your narrative section you back that up. Okay, so this is information about how the different funding works. This particular grant had two different funding sources. One was the original money that they gave us, and then one was, they call it completion funding. So based on how much work we did and how positive our results were, we got additional funding. So this is just telling us how we got that money. Okay, so performance improvements. So we want to see that we're making strides in a positive direction. This is an example of how some of their paperwork's going to look, that you're going to have to fill out, different paperwork we have to do, performance measures and outcomes. Here's the scoring rubric. This is how they judged each of the applications, and it's kind of long, you can see. It's got a lot of stuff. Is it strategic? Is it evidence-based? Is it something that can be scaled up long-term? Does their budget look feasible? Things like that. So you can see it incorporates evidence of my ability to do this. Apparently they thought we were okay to do this. And they just score every aspect of what you're turning into them. So, and then there's an overall assessment. Okay. 100 points maximum, and you want as many points as you can get on this particular one, because the more points that they give you, in this case, it actually, I think, went to 2 different people, and 2 different people scored it, and then they combined and averaged those scores, and then that's how they decided who were the top participants, who were the top applications that would be funded. So that's how that works. Alright, I've also attached in your D2L at the bottom of the document section, this is the first addendum. Basically it was a change in the timeline because they were late getting some stuff done. And then second addendum, they changed some of the funding methods, so you have to make sure that you know how that goes. And it looks like they changed the definition and they changed the budget form. So if they do something like that and they give you an addendum like that, then and you're using the original budget form and they change the budget form and you don't change over before you submit your application, they're going to know you're not paying attention to their communications, and that's really not a good thing. They don't want you to be ignoring their communications whenever they're trying to give you money, right? They want to know that you're going to be paying attention and that you're going to be responsive to their emails and such. So you need to make sure if they've sent out an addendum that you're abiding by it. So that's why that's in there for you to take a look. Alright, so that's all just kind of showing you how grants work and all the work that goes into some of the bigger ones. This one wasn't a huge one. I think we were funded for like $130,000, so it's not huge, but it is large and it is a 2-year grant, so it's wrapping up in August, and it's been a lot of work. So you're going to get money. If you do one of these and get funded, you're going to get possibly stipends for yourself, pay yourself some extra summer money or something like that, which is all good. We all like having a little extra money. However, you're going to pay for it in terms of doing the work that you said you would do. And like I said before, if they monitor you and if they don't think that you are doing the work that you said that you would do, they can pull the funding and say, we're not going to fund your grant anymore. So it is all up to the funding agency. You're just along for the ride and hopefully doing the work that you said you would. And if you get that done, maybe you can establish a positive rapport with an agency, and then when they have another grant come up, you can apply for that one and get more money. So you can get extra stipends and things like that for yourself, nice technology or items that you need for your institution, but you have to be responsible with it and you have to meet their deadlines, and you just have to do what you said you would do once it's funded. So it's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. I know some of the faculty members at A&M Commerce really appreciate whenever we have grants that they have an ability to basically give themselves a little pay raise by doing extra work, which is nice. So that's it, and I'll get these posted and talk to you later. Bye. Oh, don't forget to find your RFA that you're going to post for us. Thanks.